Welcome to Movie Baiters with the Farx brothers. I'm Kyle.
I'm Kirk.
And we're here with just Jennifer Prettyman. I shouldn't say just because...
Just? Only?
Later in the episode that are going to come out later, Alex will be joining us to talk about Babygirl. But this is just we are blessed to only have Jennifer interviewing with us today.
It's all about me right now.
Yes, it should be all about you frequently.
Oh.
And you just got back into town yesterday, correct?
Yes.
And just for perspective, what's on the TV right now?
Football.
It is the LA Rams versus the Minnesota Vikings. This is a playoff game. It will decide who goes forward in the playoffs. I think most of America is probably rooting for LA right now and not for the Minnesota Vikings. I could make a joke about Tim Walz, but I'm not going to. So sorry. I feel like Minnesota's been we're going to lose in the playoffs. I say we, even though I'm not on the team, and I'm a Packer fan. Okay, putting that out there.
Wow. Doesn't Michigan have a football team?
I'm from so Jennifer, as you know, and this is an interview of you, but we're going to recover the lore of Movie Baiters with the Farx brothers. Kirk and I were separated as children. And I was raised in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan with adopted parents.
And I was raised in the West Coast.
Yes, where you just
California.
were. And we're going to be talking about shortly because you went out there for a movie premiere. I'm going to let you tell all of this. The closest professional football team to where I grew up, my dear brother, was the Green Bay Packers. And it's actually the closest professional sports franchise from where I grew up.
Oh, the UP is very beautiful.
Thank you. I feel that way.
It's very pretty up there. And I don't know anything or care anything about football, so.
Neither do I.
Well, I know you care enough about your filmmaking career to have traveled across the country recently. Could you please start by telling us what brought you out there? You made a movie, and I'm curious about it.
Yeah, so I worked in a film called A Blind Bargain, which is actually a remake of a Lon Chaney film that was lost. It was burned in a fire. And so the executive producer wanted to remake the film taking place in 1970. And so I worked on this film back in May. So I have a role in the film, and then I stayed on throughout the entire production on crew.
Oh, what crew positions did you have?
I was a driver.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I basically would pick up some cast members and we would all go to set together. And I drove this big black SUV, and I looked like an FBI agent. It was very cool.
I think you look like an FBI agent without the big black SUV. But
You do.
I'm curious, where were you picking people up from, and where were you driving to?
Oh, okay. So a couple of the actors were from New York, so they flew in, and so they were staying at Airbnbs. And I was staying at a place in the Hollywood Hills, not too far from them, so I would go pick them up. Amy Wright, who has done a lot of work, actually. If you look her up on IMDb, I'm sure you'll recognize a lot of the films she was in. She and I drove to work every day together, and she was fantastic. And then I drove other people kind of here and there, but yeah, it was really interesting.
What's the log line for the... Oh, sorry.
What?
I was going to ask what the log line for this movie is. Like, what is it about without spoiling it? Because I want to... wait, you have it written down?
Well, let me...
I mean, you don't have it at the top of your head.
You have flair?
Memorized.
I don't have it on the top of my head.
This is a chance for me to vamp. I know it takes place in the 70s, and I know Amy Wright is in it, and I know it's based on a Lon Chaney... I'm not saying that correctly. Lon Chaney?
Lon Chaney.
L-O-N?
L-O-N. You don't know who that is?
No, I don't.
Well, of course I do, but do you want to tell the audience who Lon Chaney is?
Nice cover, yeah.
It's actually a lost 1922 Lon Chaney silent film.
Okay.
A desperate young man strikes a dark deal with an unhinged doctor, offering his mother as subject for the physician's twisted experiments. And the unhinged doctor is played by Crispin Glover.
Whoa! From Willard.
Yeah, from Willard.
And Back to the Future.
And Back to the Future. Yes, and he also makes his own films. He wasn't at the screening, which is the main reason why I flew out there. We had a cast crew screening at the Writers Guild Theater.
Oh.
But he is currently in the Czech Republic, so he didn't attend. I believe he might be making a film right now. Yeah, so what he does is the money he earns from doing, maybe bigger budget productions, he takes that money and makes his own films with his own money. I've never seen any of them, but I hear they're very interesting. But so he wasn't there, and then one of the other main actors, Jake Horowitz, who I drove as well, along with Amy, almost every day. He's in New York, and I believe he's doing a play right now, so he didn't come either. And then there were some other folks that were unable to come because of the horrific fires that are happening there right now.
I definitely want to ask you about your specific experience because you happened to be there when things started, it sounds like. But before we forget, and this is a movie podcast, how did you get involved with this production? Was it friends of yours, or you auditioned from Minnesota to be in this?
Oh, okay. So the director, his name is Paul Bonnell, and I met him years ago when I first moved out to Los Angeles, and he gave me one of my first jobs in one of his films.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
So ever since then, we've just always stayed in touch and always talked about wanting to work together again. And so, yeah, he had me come out and work in this film.
Can you tell us anything about your part?
Yes, I play Nurse Hagen.
Okay.
And I'm in one of the beginning scenes, which I don't want to say too much about it because it kind of gets the whole film going. I also have a cameo as the Swiss Miss Instant Cocoa Girl later on in the film. I'm pretty unrecognizable as Nurse Hagen. I don't know if you saw any pictures, but
do you have facial stuff on your face? Did you
Prosthetics?
Prosthetics, sorry, yes.
Oh no, nothing like that. It's just the way I'm dressed, and my hair's pulled back, and I have these crazy glasses on and stuff like that. So.
Do you like doing glasses work? As someone who wears glasses, I'm noticing because you put the glasses on to look at your phone just now. Do you? I ask because Lori River's your friend, and last episode's guest. She specifically talked about on a different podcast liking to wear glasses for character work. How does it help you to wear glasses is the question I'm asking.
Well, I think your wardrobe and accessories can enhance your role, depending on the role, right? So in this particular role, they wanted me to wear the glasses because they were very 1960s, and it just kind of fit with the character and the era.
Oh, I never seen a nurse wear glasses though.
Nurses can wear glasses, Kirk. What the
I'm
hell?
not saying they can't. I've never seen that in a movie though. Have you seen a nurse wear glasses?
Well, so in the 60s and 70s, do you remember what the outfits were like? They were like the white dresses with the little nurse hats and the whole thing. I mean, now people just wear scrubs and stuff. It's very, very different. But back then, it was almost like a fashion statement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think of
Guess I have to see it.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, like Nurse Ratched.
Nurse Ratched,
she's
yes.
wearing one of those, and that takes place, I can't remember, is it the early 70s or late 60s? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This isn't a test. Obviously, you've mentioned it, and I don't want to have prurient interest in this, but you were out there when the fires started, correct? So I guess you didn't know that going out there. When did you hear about it? Because you landed on the same day as the Golden Globes, you were saying.
Right. So I flew in on Sunday, and it was a beautiful day, sunny, maybe 70 degrees. And I had no idea. They had talked about, the Santa Ana winds will be coming in. And I mean, I lived out there for quite a while, so I remember the Santa Anas, but nobody had any idea they were going to be like this. So I was staying in my cousin's guest house. And well, I was out that evening. It was Monday evening, and I was driving back from Costa Mesa, and all of a sudden the winds started picking up, and I was holding onto my steering wheel really tight because I was like, wow. So anyways, when I got back home and the night went on and I went to bed, I thought the roof was going to cave in. I mean, literally, it was so frightening. I mean, we have some pretty strong winds here in Minnesota, but nothing like this.
Right.
And then I heard that fires had started. So they haven't had any rain since maybe April.
Well, wait a second, because you went out in May. So since you
So I
got there,
went
there
out-
hasn't been rain?
So I went out there in May and I noticed how everything was so green and lush and beautiful. And I asked people, I'm like, wow, you must have had a lot of rain. And they're like, yeah. And so everything was so beautiful. And then when I flew in this time, I noticed how everything was just dry and brown and like kind of like how it usually is in the summertime there. And so yeah, they haven't had rain in months and months. And so you mix that with, power lines went down and the winds and, just started igniting these fires. So yeah, a couple days after I got there, all hell broke loose.
Okay.
I had no idea.
So you said this first started on Monday night, and then Monday evening is like, oh, the roof is going to cave in. Where are you in LA, and can you describe where that is for people who might not be familiar with the area?
Sure. So I was in Monrovia, which is east of Pasadena, and the Altadena fires were just west of that, and then Pasadena. So there were fires in Pasadena as well. They called them the Eaton fires. So I was kind of in the middle of both of those fires.
Oh, because there's
Where
east
I
and
was.
west fires.
And then of course, the biggest fire, which started out, was in Pacific Palisades and then moved into Malibu. So, I mean, fires were literally all over the place. And then they started popping up in other places in the San Fernando Valley. I know some people in Glendale and Burbank that had to evacuate. And Encino as well. So it started and then it just spread all over the place. I mean, there was nowhere you could basically go in the Los Angeles area where there wasn't a fire, close by. And you look up in the sky and I mean, you could just see the smoke and yeah, it was terrible.
Tuesday when you wake up, hey, literal fires raining down in, the place you were at. Where do you go that day?
Well, so where I was staying, we didn't have to evacuate.
Okay.
We were frightened that we might have to, like it was pretty close. But we lost power. So we had lost power that evening with the winds. And then at my cousin's place, literally had no power for 2 days.
Dang, okay.
And then and no phone service.
Oh, gosh.
So like my phone had died and I couldn't charge it at the street lights in the neighborhood. They were all out. Restaurants weren't open. Everything was closed. It felt like the apocalypse,
How far would you have had to drive to get towards where power was still on?
Well, so that's what I did. So the next day I drove over to my other cousin's house and she lived in Claremont, which is just like 20 minutes from Monrovia.
Okay.
And she had power. So I ended up staying with her the next night.
Claremont is in what direction from Monroe?
Claremont, so it's east. It's further east.
Okay, going further inland away
About 20 minutes.
Okay.
Everything out there, like, and I've gotten so used to this, I still do this, but is within minutes. Because it's like depending on the traffic. So you don't even go by miles. It's like, oh yeah, that's a 20-minute drive.
Yeah, in early 2010s, I lived in, I can't remember, San Pedro, and then I worked in Gardenia, and it would vary whether or not it was a 20-minute drive or a 40-minute drive to work. Mm-hmm. So I think it'd be like 20 to 30 on the way there, and then 30 to 40 on the way back.
Right, so that's why nobody talks about miles, because it doesn't matter how many miles. I mean, you could drive, 5 miles and it could take you 45 minutes, depending on what time of the day, so.
So you went to Claremont, it sounds like Wednesday, Thursday, and the fires are moving. Where are the fires moving?
Well, then the power was back on at my cousin's, so I went back to Monrovia, and luckily their home in their neighborhood was fine. But I'm really worried still because the winds are supposed to pick up again
tonight.
And they still don't have the fires out.
It's crazy.
So I don't know, and there's no sign of rain in the forecast.
Yeah, I've seen reporting on like what percentage of the fire has been addressed, and it was someone this morning put like 14 or 16% of the fire has been put out.
Which one is that?
I think it's the west one was where this person was referring to, and I know there's like so there's one in Eden and one in the Palisades.
They're probably the Pacific Palisades is the worst fire. So like.
Yeah.
I didn't drive to that area, but I've seen video. So my cousin, the one who I stayed with in Claremont, her husband is a fireman, and he was off fighting the fires in the Palisades. And so he was like sending us videos and pictures and stuff. And it's horrible. I mean, you drive along PCH and like all those homes, they're just gone.
So your cousin's husband is a firefighter for what neighborhood, or what where is he a firefighter, and then where was he firefighting?
Well, so he lives in Claremont.
Okay.
But he was fighting the fire in Pacific Palisades in Malibu.
And that he would have started that on Monday night or Tuesday?
I think Tuesday.
Okay. Because you were there, it sounds like Wednesday, Thursday, and then the power comes.
I was just at her house one night.
Yeah, and then it sounds like the power came back in
Monrovia.
Monrovia. Is it spelled like how I think it is? Monroevi?
No, take out the E.
Okay.
Monrovia.
Thank you. These are the things
because that's really important, and everybody should know that.
Well, if you're Googling it to look at Google Maps and go, because there's people, I mean, you can Google, or there are maps that show where the fires are and where they're moving, I believe. So if you are able to go back to Monrovia, there's fires going on, but they're not, it seems like they grew between Thursday and Friday.
There were new fires popping up all over the place.
And when was your movie premiere?
It was Thursday.
It was Thursday. Okay, so
and they didn't know if they were gonna have to cancel it or not.
Sure.
But thankfully, they, in that area, it was in Beverly Hills. Everything was fine there. I mean, the air wasn't even smoky.
Oh, okay. So the air wasn't bad when you were in Beverly Hills, but over in Malibu and the Pacific Palisades, it's not as good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but there were a lot of people that weren't able to make the screening because of the fires, obviously. In fact, one of the actors I had spoke with, she was literally at her home with a hose, like just waiting, just trying to protect her home, because what would happen? So maybe there's a house is on fire a couple doors down. Well, stuff is flying and embers, and they're just igniting other fires, and so a lot of people were able to save their homes just by if something flew over, just spray it out.
Right.
And so that's what she was doing. And then there were some other folks that were going to fly in from other places, and they just weren't able to because of the fires. So.
And you were able to get out of LAX, but I know LAX was stopping some flights, correct?
I heard that, but I'm not really sure.
How was LAX when you were there? Before we circle back and talk about the premiere, to end on a positive note.
It was okay. Like my Delta flight was right on time, and there weren't any issues.
Okay.
And around the airport, Inglewood area was okay.
So tell us about the premiere. How did it go? Obviously, there were less people there than you expected, but it was at the Writers Guild of America headquarters. Is that what it's called?
So it's at the Writers Guild Theater.
Okay. Right.
So there's another building in Hollywood. This one is in Beverly Hills, and it's where their theater is. It's a 500-seat theater. It's beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, so we had a reception before with lots of food and everything, and quite a few people came. It was pretty full, but I mean, it would have been, there would have been a lot more people if it weren't for the fires.
So toward the end of the week when you were there, were you able were people going to restaurants? Were different shops open? Like, is business still going on in places where there's not? Okay.
Absolutely. Oh, and I just want to mention that the film's still photographer, her house burned down to the ground.
Darn it.
Damn, yeah.
She, you said?
She was on set every day. She's such a sweetheart. I feel so bad for her. And then there were other people too that were just under evacuation. Like I said, other people were going to fly in, but then just didn't because of the fires. But yeah, it went on. The show must go on, and it was a really nice screening. And it was beautiful to see it in the theater. It was shot on film, so it looked really amazing.
16 millimeter or?
Yeah, 16.
Sweet. Okay. Well, if any specific, like a GoFundMe for your still photographer comes out or something, we'd like to put that in association with this, interview episode at least, if not the whole series. So.
I can definitely check on that.
Yeah, but I'm glad you're okay. Obviously, very unfortunate what's going on there. Here's a question. I know people are probably in the midst of dealing with an active natural disaster, but from the people you know who live there, what is the most helpful thing to them? Have they expressed, the people that are in your life, what is most helpful at this time or will be in the near future?
You mean for people who actually have lost their homes?
Well, I guess that's going to be a huge part of it is the insurance claims and stuff. Because I've heard estimates from 50 billion to 150 billion, and once we're in those numbers, it's
and a lot of insurance companies dropped.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Dropped folks, which is horrible. So people that have lost their homes and have no insurance, what do you do? How do you rebuild? Even rebuilding in Los Angeles with insurance it is going to be hard because, just skyrocketing costs of everything. And it's only going to go higher now because of this. Like, for instance, so my cousin, her mom, she lost her home and she does have insurance, but now until she rebuilds, she's having to find a place to live.
Yeah.
Could you imagine losing everything that you own? Everything. I mean, not just, it's like a structure is a structure. Yeah, it would suck to lose your home, but all your personal items. Like, I think of all my letters that I've saved or like all my movie memorabilia, things like that. I mean, it just gone forever, all your memories. So like for her, she's staying with people right now. People are, helping her with whatever. I mean, they have nothing left, and then waiting for the insurance companies to pay off if you even have insurance.
Sure.
But there's a lot of GoFundMes. There's a lot of, people helping out and donating and doing what they can. And although it's unfortunate that I was there during this time that this happened, I kind of felt happy to be there because I was going through all of this with my family and friends. I was there with them just for support. And Los Angeles is there's so many disasters. When I lived out there, I mean, my God, there was the Northridge earthquake, which was just devastating. The riots, just all the things that they're constantly dealing with. But it's a resilient place, and the people are resilient and strong, and they'll get past it. But it's going to be really hard, and it's really sad that so many amazing landmarks are going to be gone forever.
Yeah, I guess to your point that what I've heard from folks trying to prognosticate on what's going to happen after this natural disaster is over, hopefully sooner rather than later, is that, LA came back from the riots of the 90s are this is an apocalypse, you can't, so dangerous. But then it came back and many people still want to move to LA even within this country. And, I saw people in Minnesota this very week saying, I'm still considering moving to Los Angeles, to pursue my dream of the entertainment business. And
it's my favorite city. It's still my favorite city.
Okay.
And every time I go back, I feel like I'm home, And there's just so much to offer there. And it is a beautiful place. I mean, you have the mountains, you have the ocean, you have amazing weather, the industry, just people from everywhere. I mean, it's so transient, I love that. Transient people.
Well, do you think you ever move back permanently? Or do you think you'll be here in Minnesota?
Ever since I moved away, I've wanted to move back. Hasn't happened yet. Who knows? I don't know. It's so expensive.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's incredibly expensive. Who knows? You don't know what could happen.
We don't know the future, but we hope for the best and plan for what we can, plan for. I was going to say worst because you hope for the best and plan for the worst, but that's somebody else's phrase.
You're trying to be more positive.
I'm trying to end on a crescendo of positivity because I think that I don't know. Thank you again, Jennifer, for coming to, I mean, we had this planned before you went out there, and then this unfortunate thing happened. An historic event, as it turns out. But
yeah. But let's just end with look for A Blind Bargain. It's in the festival circuit right now, and we'll see where it ends up, and and go from there. It's definitely a unique film, and I think it's going to have a very unique following. I don't know if you watch any of Paul Bonnell's other films. They're all very unique, and it's hard to explain or describe them if you haven't seen them. So
Okay. I have not, but I'm definitely curious now. So again, thank you, Jennifer, and look for Babygirl to be the next episode we cover here.